All right, eight. Yeah, so we're gonna go over this build. I've had a few people ask what my setup is for it. So, yeah, this is my Lich. Over here we got my demon. So we'll hop in here. So we'll just quickly go over the skill point layout, stats, minions I use, and how I have them socketed. So, as you can see here, we're in Cruel. I have capped all my resistances except for Chaos. And we'll just go down the line. So, we've got max health, 1700. Max energy shield is only 776, and we'll get into why that is. As we go down, max mana is going to be 191, and then the mana regeneration is going to be based off of my health pool up here. So there is that. Actually, this is kind of lower than what it was before. It should be at around 200, so I'll have to look into that. Because the mana gets regenerated based off what is it, 6% of my HP pool. So unless they nerf that, which I wouldn't put it past them, yeah, probably did. And then over here we have the resistances, which are actually a lot higher than they usually were. I haven't looked at any of the recent patch notes, so I don't know if they changed the like the inherent resistance loss based on what act you're in or being in endgame, but yeah, so that's all capped now, and then yeah, 12% uncapped. Next thing we want to look at, damage redirection. It's all 15% here, so 15% of damage is going to be going directly to my health. This is not intended. There is a way you could build around this, but that's not the option I'm going because I'm doing a minion build and my energy shield's only 776. So yeah, that's pretty much it. Movement speed modifier -4. I move pretty slow, but yeah, as we get into it, you'll see. So let's go ahead and go here. So yeah, these are my minions. It's a combination of It That Hates, the Breach Monsters, It That Hates, and the Cultist Archers. I also have 2 healing skeletons here, just because I want to keep these guys alive as long as possible, and then obviously the 2 base skeletal warriors. So if we look at the build items here, so what we have, so this is just here just because I don't really use it that often. Over here you see, yeah, I'll just go ahead and click through these. So there's that. Alright, so here's where we get to the chest piece. So, as you can see, the plus 100 to spirit is going to be very important for this build because a lot of these minions are very costly. But the downside is it only gives 37 energy shield and only 58 armor. I don't know if there's a higher level version of this unique. I should probably go ahead and check for that, but even still, based off these numbers, like at a level 30, 37 energy shield is not a lot to be getting from a chest piece. So I'll have to look more into that. Next we have my helm here. This is just a rare tiara. It's skinned with the unique. The most important stat here is going to be +2 to all level of minions. Another thing I forgot to call out is the +4 to all level of spells. This is going to be important too, and I'll get into why. Next over here we have this amulet, which well, as you can see, base gives us 60 spirit, so that's nice. And then also another +2 to all level minions. This isn't as high as it should be. One, I don't have any kind of anointments on it, so I need to add that. And then two, the highest you can get is +3, I want to say, so +3 60 spirit, but that's a pretty expensive amulet, so we're not at that point yet. Next, we just got another ring here. This is an unset, and I really only had it because of the good resistances on it, but at this point I can pretty much change it out. We do still want to get increased chaos damage on the ring. I don't know if this one has it. No, this one does not have it, but this one gives a lot of resistances. Another important stat, obviously, is going to be maximum life, because with this, we're not getting any bonus mana as we would typically get, and also on the build, I don't regenerate mana, or I can't recharge my mana, whatever it was. We'll look at the wording. So getting this maximum mana is going to play into one, the unholy buff that we get, and then also the more max life I have, the higher my mana regeneration is, so that helps us sustain being able to cast abilities without running out of mana. Next, we already looked at this. Yeah, maximum life is an important stat. We want that to be as high as possible. If you can get base maximum energy shield, I would do that. It's another important stat. It would just help with survivability, but honestly, with 700, it's not too bad. Okay, and then we have here another unique. This is also sitting at level 30. I don't know if there's a higher version of this that I can get, but as you see, this also gives maximum life, maximum mana. I don't know if this is, if it can be higher on here. Yeah, so we got a 40 roll on this, 35 roll on that, so almost perfect roll on this. Energy shield could be a lot better. But the most important stat here is going to be have 20% reduced reservation. And then finally, we get to the scepter. Really, the main things you want to look for is increase in damage and +4 to all minion skills. You know, to really make this an all-around amazing scepter, you would want like +100 extra spirit, so 200 spirit total. That's a very expensive scepter and very hard to make. So right now we have 15% increased attack speed, 57 increased damage from here, and then you add that 57 over here. That's not really the highest you can get. You can get a way higher increased damage modifier here, but I don't. Then yeah, that's really the most important part. Is increased mana regeneration rate. Not really too important, I don't think, just because of the way I regenerate my mana. So let's go ahead and look at the skill tree now. We'll start down here with the buffs. So 4%, obviously we want to go all the way down this tree. It's going to give you a stronger unholy might per 100 mana. And I think right now, what do I have? About 900 mana, so getting about 36% increased magnitude of my unholy might, which is not too bad. Increase mana, and then you see that it's pretty standard stuff. Over here we have this 20% increased maximum energy shield. And then this gem, I haven't really found one that I really definitely want to keep in. Before I was using the crit chance one, where my minions would get bonus 60% crit damage, which is actually pretty good. But then I swapped it out just for base minions deal 12% increased damage. And then also an increased rate for my energy shield recharge. Just so I die a little bit less. Because when your energy shield runs out, then you're going to get 50% more cost of all your skills, which is pretty rough. Yeah, and just another 26% chance to inflict ailments. So, then we go over to the life tree. 3% increased maximum life. And then we have here, this is where a lot of my bypass is coming from. But regenerate mana equal to 6% of maximum life per second. So there is that. I want to find something here. So 10% increased mana regeneration rates. The mana regeneration rate may be important now. I think they might have changed the wording on that. Before it wasn't though. I had like 200 mana regening, so it was better than if I just did like normal, didn't have that socket. Next, we're gonna zoom out. So this is pretty much the skill tree. It just 100% is focusing on minion damage. So 25% increased damage here. All of the small damage nodes we want to be grabbing. And then up here, this is one of the first ones you want to end up getting. Minions have 12% reduce reservation. Add this on to the boots. You're sitting at 32% reduced cost of spirit. Next, we go over here. We want to get more increased spirit. And then all the rest of this is pretty much just survivability. Without all of these nodes here, the build, you're going to sit at about 300 energy shield, which is, at that point, you might as well not even have energy shield. But it would allow you to spec in some of this stuff, which is for keeping the minions alive. And it would allow you to spec in up here to get a little bit extra damage for your minions. Especially these. So if you got all of this, actually, your minions would be doing a lot more damage. And then I would slot on the gem for the 60% bonus. And that would put us at, yeah, a lot of damage actually. Alright, then over here, we want to grab this node. Obviously all the increased damage. I don't think accuracy really matters as much, just because of the minions I have. They're either going to be close range attacking, or doing really big AoE attacks. So, yeah, it's not too big a deal. We'll look at the gems here, so 20% increased critical damage bonus, 14% increased spell damage. We might change this out actually. Then we have this one, cover 2% maximum life on kill, 20% increased present area effect, 12% increased chaos damage, and then 15% increased mana rate. Then over here, 11% increased cold damage, 11% increased chaos damage, 2% of damage taken recouped as life. And minions have 10% to all elemental resistances, which is pretty good. We want to keep them alive as much as possible. I went ahead and also got this one, 20% all elemental resistances. It's not really important to have this per se. Early on in leveling, you want to spec more into keeping them alive or having them revive faster because they will die. But now they do enough damage where they rarely ever die. But you also want to be able to grab this node here, is pretty important. And then also it just comes with a lot of damage nodes. And then the 20% increased area of effect is nice, and also the 20% increased cooldown recovery rate is a must-have. But yeah, that's pretty much the build and all the most important parts. This over here is pretty important too. Enemies, when they enter your presence, get withered, and the effect of withered is increased by 20%. And withered's pretty much gonna make all of your chaos damage do more damage. And this applies as a debuff to the enemy, so it's gonna affect all sources of chaos coming to them, which is very nice. So overall, that is the skill tree layout. I am missing a few points, so I'm only level 88. But yeah. So now let's get into the skill setup. So I'm just gonna flick through these really quick. Unearth is gonna be a very important skill that you use here in this build. And what Unearth is going to be doing for us is, one, as you see, it's level 31, but it gets double the global modifier. So any increases to spell level is going to upgrade this, and any increases to minion level is going to upgrade this because it counts as both. So, oh, and then also you have physical as well, that's going to count towards this. So at level 31, this spell costs a lot, 341 mana per cast, and as you saw, I only have 900 something mana. So, but we're gonna go ahead and throw this on there. Arcane Surge, it's gonna increase your cast speed and also increase your mana regeneration rate. Again, I don't know if that really affects this build because I regenerate mana based on my max health. I don't know if I can increase that rate or not. Then we have this here, Maim on Hit. It's just another way to crowd control enemies. This here is going to be very important. So Infernal Legion pretty much turns your skeletons into like infernal skeletons. They ignite every single thing they get close to, which is going to be very important for the contagion aspect of this build. And then Inspiration. This is going to be a necessity at this point due to the skill level and the mana cost. This allows us to cast it a little bit more times without running completely out of mana. And then last, this one's kind of optional. It's not really needed here. If I didn't have this here, I would have Envenom on it, just so, you know, they're applying poison or like more attack speed. Anything like that is gonna really work out well here. This is kind of your hey, I need something here right now type of item. Just throw something in there. But this does make it so now my minions are burning for 20% of their life. When they die, they explode, dealing 15% of their maximum life. And I can have up to, 28 bone constructs at a time. So when they all die, it does a lot of damage really quickly. And then also they do a lot of damage when they're alive, because they're all burning everything for 20% of their max life. Alright, so then we have Despair. This one, before leveling, I used to just kind of throw it out on bosses or unique enemies to kind of melt them fast. But now, I just kind of throw it out just because. This is going to spread with Contagion, so that is nice. But we'll go through this here. So, yeah, this is a must-have on this ability. Also, I only have this at level 9 base gem. The reason for that is at a higher level you would get like increased like magnitude of this, but 22% is not too bad. Applied with the wither bonus, like it's good enough. If I were to level this up to like a level 19 gem, the mana cost would just be too intense. It would strictly just be for doing bosses at that point. Yeah, 25% increased magnitude here. Trigger Doom Blast from curses from supportive skills. Expire, this just helps, you know, with a little bit more damage and things, killing everything around. So we got explosions from the minions, we got explosions from Doom Blast. One other explosion skill, so if I wanted to actually drop this out, and then I have 15% dex. Actually, we might do that right now, so. We're going to do fun. Apply this to strength, very fun. Another strength, okay. So now I can slot in, yep, perfect. We just want to grab. And I'll explain while I'm doing this in a second. So maim is nice. It slows down the enemies a little bit. I want to say makes them do a little bit less damage. If we go ahead and inspect it, so. Yeah, so it makes them a lot slower, actually. But if we take that out and replace it with this. Where is it? So we can grab this to have them do a lot more physical damage, which is actually pretty nice because with 28 bone constructs, they attack pretty quickly. They do a lot of damage. But what we actually want to grab actually is not this, not that. This would actually be good as well. This one's not too bad. I actually use this a lot when leveling, just to keep the bone constructs alive a lot longer. There's one specific support gem I'm looking for. So this actually wouldn't be too bad of an idea to put in there, and I think I actually might do that instead of what I was actually looking for. Okay. Yeah, we're gonna do that. So I was looking for the one where ignited enemies explode when you kill them, but the problem with that is the bone constructs would have to kill them. And that's not necessarily the case with enemies dying within my presence. But this would make it so the ignite that they inflict does a lot more damage. So we're going to leave that there. Alright, on to the last skill. Yeah, so we just have Hex Bloom. This is going to make it so even though Contagion is spreading this because it does a dot due to the first support gem, this is going to make it show the curse itself also just actually you know, hops from enemy to enemy. So next we have Contagion. You're gonna want to have this at level 20 or quality level 20. What we have here, and actually I probably should have leveled this. Oh, it is already a level 19 gem. Okay. So more area of effect. This is going to make it so Contagion spreads a lot further. And then again another area of effect with the +8 cooldown. With both of these, spreading it, and then you also have your bone constructs. You're not going to need to cast this more than once every 8 seconds. So it's going to spread very nicely. And then here we just have this Unleash Seal. That way we can for sure, whatever enemy we're attacking or whatever enemy dies first, it's going to start spreading that Contagion damage. I don't know yet if the 50% less damage gets overridden by the highest version of Contagion. And what I mean by that is, so the initial one is not debuffed, but um, the second one is. So I don't know if it gets overridden damage wise, but overall it's very good for making sure contagion gets started pretty quickly. Next, we're going to have Drain Elements. So this is going to increase the damage by 35% if the enemy is affected by an element, which they always are because we have our Infernal Skeletons igniting everything in their presence. So every time Contagion hops to an enemy that's ignited, it's going to do 35% more damage, and then it's going to keep spreading, and it's going to be very beautiful. And then we have this here to hinder enemies. Enemies move pretty quick, so this 30% movement speed debuff is actually pretty good. I had it on MAME too, as you saw, that 35%. But the problem is they are good at attacking multiple enemies, but they're still melee based, so they don't really hit everything that's in the area too often, which is why I think this one will actually work better here. Next, we have Essence Drain. This one's pretty simple. So Essence Drain is an element that's not really an element. It's a dot non-element damage over time. So we want to do this 30% more non-element damage over time. I don't know if it was a bug or a glitch, but the element version of this actually increased the damage number here. So I don't know if that's a bug, but I took it off just because, you know, I'm not sure if it actually worked or not. 15% less cast speed, 35% more damage. Again, this already casts pretty quickly, so it's not that big of a deal. 30% more damage while you're above 90% of your maximum mana. Most of the time, you pretty much are. And then Fork. Fork is nice because once the Contagion gets going, you want to start spamming out your Essence Drain to increase the damage of Contagion. Because Contagion is going to pick up every single chaos damage dot going on with it. So it's going to grab damage from this, it's going to grab damage from this, and it's going to just start spreading around and amplifying it. The initial hit of this is not going to be debuffed, but the forks are. The great part is, pretty sure this overwrites, so once it gets spreading, it's not really going to matter. It's just, you know, you just want to make sure that damage is starting. Next, we have Dark Effigy, which is only actually at level 18. And I need to finish increasing the quality on this. So the quality on this is going to make it so it withers things a lot more, and actually 20% chance. Looks like they actually buffed this maybe. But 20% more cast speed, so it shoots out everything faster, which ties into the projectile speed. The faster the projectile's moving and hit their target, the faster the next cast can start. And then we have this here, 25% more hit damage. Cannot critical hit. I don't know if this was critical hitting or not, but I haven't really noticed a drop in damage with using this. And, you know, if it can crit, I don't think the base crit chance was really all that much. We'll look at the advanced skill options here. So why this has physical stun build up modifier, I don't know. But yeah, it does kind of count as a minion, so it's gonna get that increased damage. I don't know why it's only 371 there. Yeah, it doesn't look like this has crit chance on it. Or maybe I'm looking at it wrong. So yeah, the damage per second is pretty good. Yeah, so no crit chance on this, so you're not really losing anything. It's just going to be increasing the damage. Super nice. And then here we have, so supported skills gain 35% of damage as extra chaos damage. So this only does chaos damage. But now it's going to do an extra 35% extra on top of that damage. And it's going to sacrifice 10% of its life on use. Now, I don't know if this is sacrificing my life on cast. I don't think it is. Yeah, it's not. If it is sacrificing its own life, that's why we have our skeletal clerics here. They're going to keep everything nice and healthy. Speaking of skeletal clerics, we have them here. Minions from supported skills. There's not really much you can add to these guys since pretty much their whole function is just healing your other minions and reviving fallen minions. I guess you could add ingenuity onto it if you had a problem with your minions dying a lot. That would make it so they revive them more often, but it's not really a problem. So really just gave them the tanky stuff, 30% to all elemental resistances, and they stay alive 4 seconds after they've actually died to make sure they can revive maybe 1 or 2 other minions before they actually go away. So now we're going to get into the core damage of this build. The cultist archers, you can get these guys from, I'm going to butcher the name, Farragon. It's a starter area in Act 2. Yeah, Act 2. Yeah, these guys are amazing. They do really high AoE damage. These are going to be your bread and butter for most of the game while you're leveling. It's actually going to be these guys and the the Venom Scorpions. Poison damage counts as chaos damage. So Venom Scorpions with Gamble Shot, and just really as much attack speed as you can put on these guys. And pretty much they're going to be creating a lot of targets for Dark Effigy, and it's just going to melt everything. It's actually visually very nice to watch, and they do a lot of damage really quickly. But in this version of the build, so cultist archers, 30% more damage, +1 to minions, ingenuity, because the main portion of their damage comes from their abilities, which they actually shoot out pretty often with this. If they die, they come back, they do 30% more damage, pretty nice, and then also 50% more damage with hits against enemies that are low on health. I do wish I can give them this, but unfortunately I can't. So this is like the next greatest thing. Next we have Withering Presence. I don't always have this on, but when it is on, obviously you're withering enemies. You get that bonus from the skill tree that makes your wither be more potent. But then another reason to have it on is it comes with this persistent buff, which is going to make your minions do 30% increased damage while you're not on full mana, which alternating between above 90% not being on full mana, you're going to be getting one of those 2 buffs. And then we have this one here, just plus level to all chaos skills. There wasn't really much else I could add to this. As you see, I only got 4 spirit left, and yeah, there's not a lot of options. And then we have the Spectre, It That Hates. So on this, I have poison on hit, just to add more chaos damage to the mix. Increased attack speed, calling strike against rare unique enemies, 30% more damage, 50% less area effect. They do have a nice projectile ability, but the way it works, it bounces around a lot, so this doesn't really affect them too much, other than they just get the bonus area damage. And then 80% less accuracy rating against enemies within 2 meters. It's 35% more area of effect. We're actually going to take this off. They should not be using this. And the reason they are using it, I'll get into that, is because what we want to put on them instead. %. we're gonna test that out. Yeah, the reason they are using it, because depending on the situation, so mapping, you want to have the cultist archers spec as your main specter, but when it comes to bossing, you want to have it that hates as your main specter. You can use it that hates for mapping. The problem is they don't clear nearly as fast as the cultist archers because they just have a very wide range of attack. So really, when it goes into bossing, I grab this, swap that here, put that there, grab this, swap that here, put that there. I leave that there, and yeah, I grab this, I'll swap this, and put that there. And that's pretty much how this build works out. So, yeah. And then I would usually take this as well and put this over here somewhere. But I want to test this out right now. And then the cultist archers would get this. Which actually they should have on right now. Now I think about it. So actually we'll put that there. We'll just leave that right there. Alright. And then the final part, again, for bossing or unique enemies, you just want to drop your pain offering, which is going to sacrifice your 2 skeletal minions that you get. Yeah, we're just going to click through this because it's pretty straightforward. The main parts of this is Font of Rage. This is going to affect your allies, and your minions count as allies, so it's just going to make them even stronger. And then Font of Mana. Again, I don't know if this really has any effect, but there wasn't anything else major I could put on this, so I just went ahead and threw that on in there. And then back over here to the Skeletal Warriors, since we've been speaking about them. When they die, they heal all the other minions. These are kind of just the throwaway support guys that you want to have with you. So when you get a sector, you want to be getting the ones that have Skeletal Warriors on them. Then we have the days build up. Again, this isn't really all that important. These guys are really just here to kill the other minions when they die and be a target for not killing my skeletal clerics when I use the totem. This actually should not be there. It should be over here. Or actually, it should be. Yeah, it's a rough one. I guess they can have this. That's fine. Just give them a little bit extra damage. But yeah, that's the skill tree layout going forward. As you see, the unset ring just gives me this extra spot here for pain offering. You don't have to use the unset ring. What I was doing before is, for mapping, I would have unearth, so I could obviously get my bone structures. But then when I go into a boss fight, I was swapping it out with the totem. The problem is, you put this in your inventory, it's just a real pain to swap these in and out. So I got an unset ring, and now I just have both of them available to use at any point. So yeah, that's the build. Now we're just gonna go ahead and go into a quick map here. So I'll show you this layout. I usually do it like this. So 2 It That Hates, 5 Cultist Archers. Again, you can swap this down, so it would be 5 of those, 1 Cultist Archer, and I would turn this off actually. It'd be 2 Cultist Archers for bossing, or you can just do 1. Up to you. Really, you're getting a good amount of damage from this, so I would leave it on. But yeah, that's the build. The reason I have it laid out like this is so anything that gets close, these guys are really good at killing, and then obviously these guys kill mostly everything before it can get close. So that is the build. Just while we're going, thing. It's kind of like this. Alright. So we'll just go ahead and hop into a quick map. I'll show you guys how this works. Yeah, sure. We'll do this one. And I guess we can do a boss one. Just do a pure oasis versus the mountains. I don't like the C notes. Yeah, we'll do this one. Alright, so we're gonna get into it. Actually, probably should have corrupted that map. But yeah, so this is the build. These are the guys. The charms, I really just kind of threw whatever on there. They're not all that great. But yeah, movement speed, it's not terrible, but you can definitely tell the difference if you're used to using more movement speed than this. As you see, they just kind of get started going. It's pretty nice. Drop a dark effigy, but things just kind of melt along the way. Now here we're kind of on 2 uniques. Drop a curse, let that spread, and that unique is gone. So yeah, this is pretty much the playstyle. Stay at a safe distance behind your minions and just let them kind of kill everything. And you drop Contagion whenever you get into a large mob. And yeah, that's that. So, at this point, I'm going to go ahead and finish out the map. If you guys want to keep watching, feel free. But thanks for stopping by. Alright, yeah, so as you can see, the build's pretty strong. The clear is never an issue. But now we're going to go ahead and swap this up. Because now we're going into this boss fight. So, like I said, we're going to go ahead and change this to here. We're going to give them this. Calling Strike. They don't need. Yeah, we can take that off. Put that there. And now, grab this, put that there. 30% more. There is one more thing we want to give them. To do that, we're gonna have to take this off, and we want to give them this. Put that there. There's not really anybody else that I want to. Actually, so we can leave that on. Alright, so yeah, now this is the build. So let's go through it. Pretty much, obviously all the damage. We want all of it. Because they are taking 20% more damage, and I'm not fully spec'd into their survivability, they are going to die, but they're also going to revive really quickly. Thanks to our skeletal clerics and also just the skill tree passives that we got going on. +1 to the minions, obviously, the higher the level, the more damage they do. 30% more damage when they come back alive. 30% more area damage, 50% less area effect. This one's is debatable. They do a lot of damage. Technically, I would usually just put that on these guys. Drop this over here. And then I would give them where is it? Give them this so that they attack a lot faster, and then I would give these guys the maim so that the boss is moving even slower, and that would be the build. The calling strike is okay, but honestly, if I get them to this point where they can be called anyways, it's not like it's not that big a deal. Because what is it? Unique enemies at 5%. That's 5%. I can do that damage pretty quickly. So yeah, that is the setup for bossing. The next thing we want to do is we want to go ahead and we're gonna go ahead and swap these on out. So I do a 1 cultist archer, 1 skeletal cleric. That's all you really need, and then all the damage is going to be coming from It That Hates. Now I've got 5 of these guys. I've tried this build with more of them, like 7. 7 is the max that I could get if I really wanted to. The problem is they are hybrid. Most of their damage comes from their melee attack though, and to do that melee attack, obviously they gotta surround the enemy. The problem is when too much of them are surrounding the enemy, these guys are pretty big and they can't all fit, so the other guys just end up just kind of standing there. So 5 or 6 is really the max that I would say you should go for, depending on the enemy size. Obviously, if there's like, you know, a Titan-sized enemy, you can go as many as you want, but just be mindful of that. So we're gonna go ahead and go in here, and we're gonna fight this guy. And before you start a boss fight, just make sure you move all the way into the arena. Otherwise, you're gonna leave some of these guys outside. It's a weird glitch, but all right, we're gonna start this up. Shut up. You guys can watch how this build goes.
You tread where you do not belong. Bear witness. You will break upon
And yep, that's the build. Um, it's pretty quick. I haven't found a boss that I couldn't kill in that amount of time. Trash gear, obviously, but yeah, that's pretty much it. If you like the build, you want to see the other variants of this, maybe using the scorpions. I can show you that as well. But yeah, good luck. It's a pretty fun build. It's a unique way. I know a lot of people mainly just use the Vaal guards, which are pretty strong, but if you ask me, it's a pretty boring way to play. So, yeah.